First of all, I would like to greet Professor Jai Mohan, Professor of Healthcare Informatics, International University, and my further colleagues, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming today. So this is the first time I'm giving a keynote speech here for this IMU Learning Resource Festival on the title called Ubiquitous Learning. Before we go through on about what is ubiquitous learning, I think the most important thing I'd like to thank Prof. Jai for, because you already covered 50% of my of my talk for today. So I think basically I will just go into some things which is more knowledgeable, and then we try to share each another here. So when I was studying at because I was graduated from university, I did my first degree at MMU. I was the first graduate, first batch of Multimedia University in Cyberjaya. And then I continued my master's, I did in UKM, and then I finished my PhD in Universiti Malaya. So the learning process that I went through was like, talking about 10 to 15 years down the road, it's like it was different until today. The paradigm change. It's like the learning, that time our lecturers would come to the classes, teach, and there was no moods, there was no online learning resources and so on. There was a lot of limitation. But today, you see, the trend is already changing. You see, the people's mind is changing, the environment is changing, and then like our MC mentioned this now. When you look to you, is that mobile phone? See the brother there, so he's still using mobile phone. Okay, so like I mean, this is what's happening now. That is why we are talking about the new media, like Prof. Jai mentioned this now. Talking about you're talking about IoT. So this is the context of what is going to happen today. And even I'm just like to share with you, I'm one of the members of under the Prime Minister's project under TN50. So it is about the direction where we need to push this ubiquitous learning. So I would like to congratulate IMU for spearheading this context of having this festival and so on. And I believe it's already like 4 years, probably. Already 4 years you have done this. This is a good job. I think this is what the nation, the direction of the government wants. So it's a good start. And then I think, shall I go on next? Okay, so okay. So basically, ubiquitous is talking about existing on being everywhere, especially at the same time. The main concept of ubiquitous computing is invisibility, where the user is not aware of the presence of technology, but it's very much there. It's a paradigm shift where technology becomes virtually invisible in our lives. So that's why you see today I'm talking about, because like I just give you an example of what happened to Apple computers and so on. You see today what happened? You see guys, you see how Apple changes. When it started in 1980s, you see where they started from computers like Macintosh, they move up into their like iPods, their iPads and so on. And then now you see they changed. They just to share with you, you see how they derived themselves from Samsung, where they started in S8. Now they went to iPhone X. A paradigm shift. They're talking about face recognition in terms of security. I think nobody can break through that possibility, but Apple managed to do that. So that's one way. What is talking about the paradigm shift, how it changes. So in the context of ubiquitous learning, it's almost the same. I think the students are coming to classes now. We need to find a way how to lessen, face-to-face situation, and then talking about giving a more opportunity to explore in the virtually invisible way. So instead of having desktop and laptop computers, the technology we use will be embedded in environment. Just to share with you, it's like I had a chance to went to Microsoft and see the latest technology called Microsoft HoloLens. Microsoft HoloLens is the first virtual reality holographic computer. So this is very, very important, especially to those who are studying medic, where you can put your VR and you can do all your your explanation in terms of like you want to do operation, you want to do anything scanning and so on. You can work in. I'm not a medic student, but I just looking at the way the technology is going. So Microsoft came up with the HoloLens. So this is another technology, is a breakthrough in terms of immersive technology. Okay, so So ubiquitous learning is often simply defined as a learning anywhere, anytime, and is therefore closely associated with mobile technologies. So if you use the word mobile technologies, is related to new media. Some of you might heard this word called new media, right? So mobile technologies is one of the component inside of new media. So this new media is the one that is changing the paradigm of our thinking, the way of our approach in teaching. So this way. So IoT is another way, another platform where they're talking about communicating with sensors, communicating, talking about smart cities. You won't be surprised that even with the IoT now, if you have the technology, you can even use your handphone to off your house light just through your handphone. This is another technology we're talking about. So this is what does it mean by the context of new media. So like now Prof mentioned this about Mark Vaser, so he's from the Xerox part. Very interesting fact about this guy that I read is he's a philosophy. He did his PhD in philosophy. But again, he managed to integrate between philosophy, arts, and education. And that's why he type of ubiquitous. So he's a father of ubiquitous learning. Dia ada macam muka Steve Jobs sikit. Ada sikit Steve Jobs. So his invention, this ubiquitous, is known as Ubicom, as the future. You see, that's why great thinkers, great philosophers always have a good mindset of thinking. Think 10 years, 20 years ahead. Like how, again, like how Steve Jobs, Mark Vaser and so on. So they have that type of thinking. Yeah? So Vaser identified three types of computer devices: wearable, handheld, and interactive board. And their main characteristic will be helpless and servants, quiet and invisible, user not necessarily aware of the presence, just interaction, should not demand attention, and so on. So these are the characteristics that involve inside the ubiquitous. So key characteristics of ubiquitous learning, we're talking about permanency. Learning materials are always available unless purposely deleted. Accessibility, access from everywhere from personally required. Immediately, where a student is, he and she can immediately access learning materials. The context here is talking about how does this ubiquitous learning will help and benefit the students. I don't know the percentage in IMU. At my university, we are moving towards like 50 to 60%. But I just like to share with you because I'm a lecturer so as well. So I'm having this problem now. You see, the thing is, when I teach my students in the classes and so on, the problem is they are using these moods. They have this, all this e-learning stuff and so on. You're talking about ubiquitous, right? But the thing is that if you just send an online quiz to them and so on, they still do not know that there's a quiz or not. They just give you an example. They do not know. Why? They just give an easy answer. Why? Because they are very trained to this Facebook thing. So they don't have time to go and log in into your, your e-learn stuff and so on. So in Malay they call it malas lah. I better open my Facebook every morning and then Prof. So so and then like you have students there. So only maybe you tell them like only phone iya ke? Is there a quiz? So I didn't know. It's just like it's like so this is a challenge then. This is the discussion we're talking about. How does the information can be derived? So interactivity, online collaboration with teachers and peers, and then situated instructional activities. And we put a forum there. You put a forum on top there. You ask them to discuss. Out of the 70 students in the class, maybe 5 or 6 only will reply. But if you ask them to talk in front of you, maybe maybe like 10, 20 students will talk. They can talk hours. So that's the difference. Okay. Situated instructional activities, learning in the context, adaptability, getting the right information at the right place for the right students. So this is the context of it. Then pedagogical basics of ubiquitous learning. The main premise of ubiquitous learning is related to situated learning, in which a general theory of knowledge that is based on true learning occurs in real activities. In contrast, formal classrooms learning implies knowledge of abstraction and decontextualization. So, and that is why we are talking about all the strategy of pedagogy studies. So this is how you need to understand the pedagogy studies. So this is how you bring in the student engage with the environment of interactivity, talking about immersive, talking about maybe one day, Prof. I believe I immersive, your VR, your augmented reality, and so on. And just to share with you that I had a chance to collaborate with IMU from my university. Okay, I'm going to show you later on a small research project we did together with IMU, in developing the augmented reality. So it's part of a small immersive effort, in terms of how to help the students find their books in the library. Talking about thousands of books there. So we find a way. I mean, we did a research together. I will show you the sample later on. Okay. So this is a one way that we are talking about, and then but I just like to ask. I just like to ask the audience here. Basically, what do you think? Do you like the face-to-face teaching, or you prefer online teaching? Or you're talking about ubiquitous, learning and so on. Maybe just ask. I think majority here are all lecturers, right? And so on. So we just like to know, what do you think? Do you like face-to-face, live interaction with the students? You can joke with them, laugh with them, or you just like look at your screen on the PC and touch you. You prefer face-to-face, huh? Okay. Just so I think we have to skip this. Oh, okay. Okay. So you're talking about theoretical, like you give a mass lecture, just like okay, correct, yeah. And then, and the most important, they miss you, right? Okay, sorry. Yeah, what's your answer, Miss Madam? Sorry. Yeah. Uh, the, you prefer life? What's the reason? Let me just. Uh, okay, okay, okay. So I think I put one thing there. I don't know whether I'm right or not. Maybe later can have some discussion on this. I think the factor of human touch. This is the most. You cannot defeat. I mean that's the thing that you can draw a line between, you're talking about ubiquitous learning and the face to face. But we have to. What is going to happen 20 to 30 years from now? As our country is moving towards 2050 as a developed nation and so on. So this is another platform that we need to know that what is going to happen to the country in terms of. I mean, you will be surprised, and in the states, especially in overseas and so on, there are countries where they are focusing much into e-learning and so on. So by not saying that face-to-face no good, it must be there still. It will always be there. If not, Malaysia Airlines no need to have the the immigration you can close. Everything is online. I think still no. There must be a face-to-face, because there are several things still need to be discussed. Like like Madam Star mentioned, she says, when you want to have like practical, hands-on and so on, demonstration, you still need to. There might be some argument there, but rest in mind that ubiquitous learning is still important in one way as well. So today's technology seems to be trending towards the actualization of the original ubiquitous concept and described by Mark Wilson. So ubiquitous computing will allow us to leverage the natural associations of physical world with all advantages and power of modern day electronic storage and computation. Computation. Because you're talking about these are the limitations that you have to be careful of, because you're talking about the storage, you're talking about your bandwidth, you're talking about how fast your internet, how much storage you have. So this is another factors that we have to take into consideration. Of course, we are talking about the students now in the urban area. What happens in rural areas and so on? Let's say you give a quiz today, and then they are going back to their hometown. Basically, like say in Kelantan, in Terengganu, and so on. In the rural areas and so on. So it's very difficult for them to get internet. So a bit, an argument a bit there and so on. So these are the things that they have to take into consideration. So that's. And then the notion of invisible computing, one in which computers fit into the background of our work environment. This is a world in which computation becomes implicit with the work end. And the second idea is one of the computing engenders calmness. Computers, for many of us, focus on our attention and often lead to frustration. Mostly, they are expected with us with complex and esoteric users interface. So, at the end, Marx's vision of the future predicted that computers embedded in everyday objects enhancing their purpose. So, at the end, it's all about talking about how computer will enhance the life of, talking about the lifestyle, talking about the learning context. And, I think in health, computers is like touching everywhere. It's not going to stop only in learning. It might be in the military. You're talking about in context of medical. It's moving everywhere, and that's why I mentioned it's not like Microsoft when they did the Hololens. You know, they're focusing mostly like into medics and so on. So even aircraft, talking about pilots and so on. You know, they are going through simulation through computer based and so on. So this is very very important. So I don't know. I have 1 hour. And it's like, right. So mobile devices, powerful personal mobile communication, processing, and so on. So we know that we have a hardware device that is highly personal, similar to how personal a mobile phone is, but much more personal than a desktop or PC. So again, like Prof mentioned just now, you can access data from anywhere using your tablet, using your iPhone, using your Android, whatever application and so on. So this is another way that the ubiquitous computing will help to benefit the students basically. So the computing device, although it's exchanged from a certain degree of personalization compared to mobile phones, is able to powerfully communicate, store, process, and access information. It has the mobility and autonomy of a mobile phone, but the processing power and screen of a computer in such a way it has a broader and more fundamental. I had a chance just now to look one of the vendors, if I'm not mistaken. No, they did something related to e-learning. You know, you can change, you can change the setting. You use a green screen. You do a chroma key. You remove that person behind. The background behind. You can change whatever background you want. You become a newscaster. You want to become whatever. You can talk about the weather and so on. So this is a very interesting part where ubiquitous learning is talking about. But bear in mind is that how much that the students can really understand, and how you can make the students to believe that you're in that environment, especially that you're talking about, like say you're in the forestry environment, you're teaching forestry, so you'll be in the forest environment, and then you're something like that. So it's like making the students to believe. That's the key point of ubiquitous learning. And then sorry. So college shares documents online with virtual officers, and it's an idea he called, my professor calls ubiquitous computing, and almost a quarter of century we're seeing in fruition in the form of Internet of Things. So basically, Internet of Things is connecting any device with an on-off switch to the Internet. Okay, so like I said, just now it's changing. So just imagine what if will you be like live in a world full of invisible widgets. So if you're talking about today, imagine if the future of ubiquitous learning and IoT and alarm clock sensors is used to wakefulness and set the coffee machine to start in the morning brew. So your clock, you can even set and make the automatic. It's like an automation. You can make the machines to move and so on. So this is what is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in the what is this? We call it the traffic. Like IoT is going to solve this traffic. Talking about buses, what time do they come? All this is where IoT is going to come. Hopefully, Malaysia is going to move towards that. It's just a matter of talking about maybe not another 20 years from now, hopefully. And then, but again, if IoT is there, ubiquitous learning also must go together. It's parallel. It has to be in line. If not, there will be some kind of stagnant there. The use of IoT technologies is considered as an enabler. You see, IoT technologies as an enabler for the realization of ubiquitous learning environment, in which learning demand and learning resources are everywhere in seamless integration of life, studying, and work. Okay, so I try to go through this very quickly. So characteristics of ubiquitous learning consists of permanency, accessibility, immediacy, and interactivity. I think one of the key points that the students want to see is basically interactivity. The students see some kind of interaction. It's just, learning linearly is okay, but listening to all the notes, just okay, going through, but kind of interaction that's how the context or dynamic learning approach. Okay. So the main challenges are how to support learning processes, which learning methods will be most effective for a student, what learning activities will be appropriate for the student. So this is what the ubiquitous learning challenges has to be taken into consideration, right? And again, the parameters inside ubiquitous consist of connectivity, flexibility, interactivity, collaboration, extended opportunities, and motivation. So in summary, ubiquitous learning should be defined as who you are, where you are, what device you are using, dynamic skills and ability profile, whether it is night or day, what time is it, who is it, who is near you, what device are near to you, and so forth and so on. Okay, so now this is how the process will go on. So even at my university now, also we are using cloud computing. So we don't need to carry our USB hard disk, external hard disk and so on. So we use cloud computing. We can store our data on the cloud. So it's easy for you to extract the data and so on. So this is another platform in terms of storage. It helps you a lot in terms of how to move your data and so on. So, but again, it depends on how much data you're using. So just to share with you the collaboration between my university and IMU. So we developed an augmented reality library application that allow users to search books using augmented reality interaction. Like it's just like you have like a card, and then you can just scan, and then automatically a 3D book will be appearing in front of you, a 360 degrees book, with the context, the information of the book. So it allows because we did a studies basically that IMU students, this applies to all university students. When they want to find a book, it's very difficult. They want to find which is the right book. What you call it, what book? What number is that? The what number? Call number. Tu dia saya nombor telefon saya tahu. Call number tak ingat. Alright. So call number. Okay, and then talking about where's the location and so on. So we try to make things as a starting point. This is an undergraduate research project. So we collaborate together with IMU, and then we try to investigate if using this app can make sure the students get excited to go to the library or not. It's another approach for the students to be, it's an exciting tool for them. Pas seronok lah benda ni kan. So once what they did is they open the apps, they're going to find, and they will go through the process, and then I think we can demonstrate. Where my students? Yeah, come. I think I will show you the video. Sorry. Nazrul, yeah, video. This is my undergraduate student, final year already. So the students will find any domain of the subject. Let's say, example, you're talking about medical, or whatever. They just go into the book of it, and then she just need to, like scan the. You can see basically. See, the book is appeared in a 3D form. So it tells you basically the book is there with the proper information and so on. If the book is not there, please refer to the library. Okay, right? So again, I think right. So I think basically that's all from me. So again, I would like to maybe if there's any questions and answers, maybe. Okay, I pass back to the MC. So the information of the book is there, stated on the phone, right? So again, thank you so much. It's there. Okay. Thank you, Prof. I think that's a very affirmative answer that you give. It's correct what you say. It's true because if you're talking about the context of how do you want the students, in terms of you have a large students and so on, they're moving around there and so on, and in the end, you want the students to be very close to you. I think that's how. I remember I told you we draw the line. That's how you differentiate between talking about the immersive, sorry, what are you talking about the ubiquitous learning and so this and face to face. I sentuh orang ni rasa tak sama dengan I pegang kat screen. Tak sama kan, in Malay, that's in the way. So that's why you say, I do really agree with you now, because there must be a way that you can find. Talking about face recognition, I don't know, I'm an Apple person who like following this technology and so on. So you see, like you're talking about all this facial recognition and so on. This is where they want to bring the user and the interaction to be more closer. More especially, as I said, the lecturer and the students. So facial recognition is one of the most powerful, or what I can say, more advanced in terms of how do you want a good establishment communication in terms of new media, talking about digital stuff and so on. So, like Apple when they came out, the Apple X, if I'm not mistaken, maybe you can correct me, sir, if I'm wrong. When they did the face recognition, that was like a breakthrough, because like Samsung, they were focusing on eye, but Apple came up. Even they didn't go for Apple. They didn't come up with Samsung. They went to Apple straight. Why? Because they already know that this is a paradigm. We are going to leave all this technology behind. We are moving forward. We go to face. If you say about face recognition, I give you one simple analogy challenge. How do you know that your face can be captured to ensure that you can log into your iPhone? If you know that technology is about, you need to know the light source you need to know. But Apple can detect, number one. Number two, you're talking about facial recognition. You change your face, how? You go plastic surgery macam mana? And so, but again, this thing they got more than 1 million dots of recognition that they can detect. So that's the technology that they're moving on. So again, to what Prof is mentioning just now, if you're talking about face recognition, talking about these new modern technologies for ubiquitous learning, there is a breakthrough. I always believe there is a breakthrough. But jangan marah. Because kalau in the context, dia kata orang lama ni memang biasa, saya faham. Sebab my father also, my late father also, memang he was a teacher. He likes face to face. He doesn't know, even talk about technology, he doesn't want. Macam tu. So it's true. Memang there is a reason why. Itu one of the factors, because you went through the experience. You know how is it. So, but like us, we need to understand and adapt. Especially the Y generation, all these new students now, they have to go through. Because we are all, especially the younger generation now, they are known as digital natives. Bangun pagi, early morning they get up, Facebook, talking about digital what? My son also get up early morning, he finds his iPad, iPhone, cannot run away. Nobody wants to go back to watch all this traditional stuff, look back. They want so digital natives. So you have to. So if you're talking about digital natives, like all these children now, your IMU students, my students, and so on, I think technology is like ubiquitous learning is very, very crucial. Of course, I think so. Sorry, should I pass it to you or? Prof, thanks. The outcome of the study. Okay, this is because this is 1 year project, belum siap lagi lah sebenarnya. Tapi we are in the process of getting data. We're going to have some kind, like we call it feasibility studies, and then we're going to have a survey for the respondents, especially IMU students. We have to collect like 50 or 100 students to test with them to come in. Because we are now in the process like 70% to. Oh. So I mean, if you put it on the storage,
this would be a limitation to your study, lah.
Yeah, it's true because I don't know. This is what ubiquitous learning. Remember I told you about storage, right?
Yeah.
Even you put your notes there, everything and so on and so. But it depends on you want to download the data and so on. So they need to change. We have to change the mindset. We have to change the paradigm. Maybe IMU's tagline have to change. Maybe after this, I don't know. Sorry, I mean, I'm just giving an example. Jangan marah, jangan marah. I mean, sorry, I mean, I know it's still medical. It's still medical, but some kind of a more digital is in front there. It's moving towards that. So, memang your new students coming, your lecturers all will go and follow the whatever the leader is talking about. Dia punya directive macam mana. I think that's the only best way. I don't know whether I'm wrong, but because to cultivate the culture, it's not easy. It's not easy. You know, I'm just like sharing with you, like my university. Most of my university lecturers are all from technical base. To change them to become, like they can produce high impact publication like Scopus and ISI. It's not easy because they're technical lecturers. They only can focus on teaching technical and vocational. So if you wanted to change into writing publication, it's another thing. You're talking about language, you're talking about so this is another challenge. So again, I'm just sharing, it's like, I think every universities have their challenges. So, but again, I do agree from Puan, memang betul, it's not easy. Yes.
Understanding that this change is inevitable, right? And that we are not new. I mean, we are new, but actually this change, this transformation has been there for the last decade. I mean, right from those countries who've started it. Wouldn't there be, knowing that this is a problem, and knowing that the hesitancy of change is universal, shouldn't there be like kind of a change management program from conventional to digital that should be there? I mean, I think we should not like assume that it's going to be something that the student will pick up, the teachers will pick up, but it must be a very conformed kind of structured program that assist this change and transformation. I mean, you said that everybody is facing the problem. Wouldn't we want to facilitate that?
Yes, again, I have to agree with you. It's like it takes time for people to adapt with these changes and so on. Even though I did ask you to change the tagline, but I didn't mean, it's just like you need changes, and then it's like from top to down. It's like everybody has to understand this. It's not like okay, lecturers only have to go there. Even I don't know, maybe the administrative part. Maybe and maybe up to the cleaners as well. Talking about they have to understand all about this now. So it's like it takes a process. I do agree. It takes a time. You have to go to phases. Then only you can build up a strong, understand. And then like I do see that there are lecturers who we call it senior lecturers. Dah orang lama kan, orang lama. So they also need to follow that thing because suddenly we have like 20 let's say lecturers with a group like 20 to 30 years old average, their age, they are moving fast. And then what happened to this? So we need to give them some time, some kind of breathing space for them in order for them to understand and then follow together. Mungkin, I don't know, example their KPI tak tinggi sangat macam KPI dia orang kan. So, but again, they are still there. We put it together that way, So maybe some lecturers, they can produce 5 ISI or 5 Scopus in a year, publication. Maybe yang baru, yang lama mungkin bagi 2 example, something like that. Like give some kind of balance there, check and balance. So that's the best that they can do. But I do agree again with you. So.
This e-learning festival is part of the change management. We have a strategy, we do the e-learning festival. At the e-learning festival, we recognize those who develop innovative projects and showcase them so that other faculty can see what is possible. Now, sometimes some of our reaction is very knee-jerk. Prof. Vishna sent out that flipped learning article from the New England Journal of Medicine, and immediate reaction was some people said, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and other people said our education system does not permit this because they have come from a traditional education system, not a Western education system. But the same faculty, after a few days of thinking when we met them in clinical school, actually said, no, that is not true, that our students are as up to date and as technology savvy as students in the West. It is the faculty who have the problem, who have difficulty adapting, and so they blame the student system for what they themselves lack. So our students actually, the world is a global village, I say they are digital natives, and they are up to Malaysia, and Malaysia is one of the best users of social media in the world. So they have no problem, they have no challenges. E-learning portal, we don't have any teaching to the students on how to use the e-learning portal. We don't need to. They will find their way around. But we hold regular training for the faculty so that they can navigate the e-learning portal, and they have difficulty even retaining that information, which is done in stages. So I think the answer is pass the responsibility for learning to the students. Use project-based learning, use active learning, and let them become co-creators of content rather than the faculty, producing PowerPoint slides, and the students use those PowerPoint slides as what will come out in the exam. And if it's not in the PowerPoint slide, they can't answer the question. So no, you are limiting their growth. All right. Of course, our assessment system must also change. The assessment test regurgitation of information, and they will use that as their learning method. Okay.
Okay, so that's why Prof, you mentioned this about the examination and test, right? So one day I believe IMU will go into immersive, talking about bringing your HoloLens, asking the medical students to do their examination online, and you can see, so they can see 3D, basically. So these are the things that are moving. But there must be a platform starting from now. And I congratulate you for hosting these type of events, because this is how you cultivate the culture. This is most important nak membudayakan this, ubiquitous learning ni. Tu je. Kalau dapat, okay, every students understand, the top management, the down people, everything, I think it's a very good start. Okay, maybe any last question? Maybe I don't know. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we key in information into mobile apps. Then whether the information will it be compiled into a single location or a file, and the location must be a cloud storage.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Single location file, you're talking about. This is one thing, and you're talking about cloud storage and so on, right? So this is where you call it the centralized data. So that means this is an example, very simple one. You see how CIMB clicks, Maybank to you, all this stuff, right? You see, an apps, you can control your data and everything. It's all stored into one centralized place, okay? And they use cloud computing in order for them to store data and everything is there. So your answer is, yeah, it's possible to do it for education-wise, and especially for education, is very easy to be done. The limitation, that challenge is how much of storage can be done. I just give you an example. Let's say a lecturer is doing a video recording. Your file size is like 2 gig and 4 gigabyte. I tend to cross a lot of, some lecturers, their file size is so huge. So when you upload your file, you know what happens is not? You upload, it takes time now. And then to come back to that storage, like maybe a day or 2 days. But you told your students that you already uploaded. So students check, tak ada pun, elak, tak ada. So you understand now? So the possibility of having a powerful storage is very, very critical at this point of time now. And then again goes back to your internet speed, how much you have. That's why I always, my mind concern is like, okay, for rural areas like here, it's like, tak ada masalah, like urban areas like here, okay. But when I talk about rural areas, sometimes I pity, no. You understand what I mean? So the centralization of data in one apps is possible to be done. It's not difficult. You understand? But it all depends how much you're going to be you're investing in terms of the storage, your internet bandwidth. I think these two fundamentals good enough already. Then later on the rest is just talking about the devices and all the others. I think one of the demonstration they're doing in front, the green screen, the cameras, That one is okay. That's just another enhancement. But the fundamental of these two is very important. The storage and the bandwidth. So that's one. Okay, all right. Okay, think that's all. Think that's all. Okay, so thank you so much. Okay.